Welcome to Love, Lies and Horizons. I'm your host, a man who's seen the highs and lows of love and life over the past 4 decades. With wealth and experience on my side, I've learned that not everyone deserves your trust or your heart. Join me as we explore the depths of human relationships, where love isn't always as it seems, and betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, where every story has a lesson, and every lesson has the power to change your perspective on love and trust. Hello, everyone. I can't believe I'm here, but I'm not sure what else to do. I adore my wife, but I'm worried that she's doing something behind my back. I can't tell my friends and family because it's too embarrassing and messed up. I believe my coworker assaulted my wife, and it appears that this is the case. I'm a 36-year-old man who met my wife, a 32-year-old woman, at a coffee shop in our city in 2014. My wife, Leela, was waiting in line when I saw her. It's a funny thing. I had intended to go to another cafe, but the line at the one where she was too lengthy. I spotted her standing at the front and couldn't believe how beautiful she looked. When she saw me, she chuckled and said that she was not in line for coffee. Leela said her friend worked there and she was waiting for her to come out. I was relieved she spoke to me because I had no idea what to say. As a result, I was able to break the ice by being humorous, and we spoke while she waited for her friend. I could see I was making a terrific first impression with her. I asked her if she would like me to buy her a coffee while she waited, and she requested a caramel latte instead. After we bought it, we talked some more, and I kept being charming and witty with her. When her friend emerged, I requested her number, and she gave it to me before they left. After that, I tried all in my power to sweep her off her feet. We made it official after going on a few dates with my friends and hanging out with her and her pals. We were dating in 2017, and Leela and I got married. After we had 3 children, we had our own family, with 2 daughters and our son as the middle kid. We grew to be excellent parents for our children. It wasn't easy, but we stopped going out to clubs and concerts. We did, however, find time to have fun on occasion. Our nightlife was definitely reduced by half. I was overjoyed to have Leela as my wife, and I felt quite fortunate. She had a wonderful personality and was so beautiful that my friends even complimented me. Leela is Cuban and resembles a cross between the Wonder Woman actress and Salma Hayek. She's curvy, tattooed on her arms, and constantly wears a ponytail. You'd recognize her because she always wears a ponytail, especially in selfies. We make decent money because I work as a maintenance man, and Leela and her sister are interior decorators who make fantastic money. Technically, her sister is the interior designer. Leela simply came on board when she saw how successful it was becoming. I enjoy my job and have been here for 7 years, but I never imagined someone here would get to my wife. The drama took place last Wednesday. There's a guy working in the shipping department. Let's call him Alex. Alex and I aren't actually buddies, but he's an acquaintance, and we talk at lunch. I probably spent the majority of my time with him in the parking lot at work, shooting dice. We only hang out during lunch and talk about basketball games. My car broke down one weekend, and I was unable to get to work, so my wife drove me there and picked me up. After the first time, she arrived too early and had to wait approximately 30 minutes for me to emerge. When I came out, I noticed her laughing and talking to Alex and a girl who works in the office. Let's call her Mia. After introducing her as my wife, we made light chat for a time before leaving. Looking back, I believe that's where it all began. I believe Alex got to my wife, and it began the week when she had to come pick me up from work. When I got off work, I would see my wife hanging out with Alex and Mia. They would hang around in the office, and there was rap music on Alex's Beats by Dre that is connected to his phone. Leela mentioned that she enjoyed talking to Mia and would hang out in the office with her and Alex. I knew Mia and Alex lived near each other, so they were good friends, and seeing him around them didn't disturb me. Leela has been coming to my job since that week to talk and hang out with Alex and Mia. Mia was supposed to be Leela's friend, so I didn't mind when she came over or called. But Alex being around and talking to Leela was something I overlooked. My wife receives a lot of attention, particularly on Instagram, so I've always tried to keep myself in check, even when I noticed Leela and Alex conversing without Mia present. Jumping to conclusions would irritate me and result in daily arguments in Spanish about my anxieties about my wife perhaps cheating on me. One day, when I was leaving my job last Wednesday, I was saying farewell to a friend at work. He was on the phone at the time and said his goodbyes as well. I paused when he informed the person on the other end of the telephone that it was me saying goodbye. I was curious since he mentioned my name as if he knew me. When I questioned who he was talking to, He simply grinned and claimed it was an old coworker instructing me to wait. He told me that this individual wanted to talk to me right away and handed me the phone. I was truly pleased to hear this guy talking to an old coworker. Let's call him Marcus. We caught up because I'm not sure why he left. He stated his brother worked in an Atlanta warehouse, and Marcus moved there because his brother promised him a job with him. Then he chose to playfully point out that he now made more than us. After we caught up, he said he wanted to ask for my phone number so he could chat with me about something. I agreed, and he instructed me to DM him on Facebook with my phone number. I responded okay and handed my pal his phone back. He called right away after I sent him the phone number. I still hadn't made it to my car. Picking up, I asked him what was going on. He asked if I was in the car, and I said yes. He said not to drive yet because he needed to tell me something. This sounded bizarre as hell. I asked him what he was talking about. He said I can't tell anybody. Nobody told me this. I agreed. He asked if Leela was still coming to my job, and it surprised me. I said yes, and he asked if Alex was still talking to Leela. I said yes, and he made me nervous by asking about them. He told me he didn't want to start anything, but he believes Alex hit my wife. He said he didn't care because he no longer works with us, so he wanted me to know this. Hearing this sent a chill down my spine. I asked him how he knew this, and he said he had seen them while working with us. Marcus was the floor leader, so we moved between departments. He stated that while walking, he would always see Leela and Alex talking to each other. He told our co-workers that he really wanted to bang Leela and would always make comments about her. But when I asked Marcus when he'd see them together, he said it was nearly an hour before lunch. He said he saw her talk to Mia occasionally, but she talked to Alex more often. Marcus stated that despite the fact that he appeared to be flirting with Leela, he had no idea what was going on until she visited him on Saturdays when Alex's department had to work overtime. This was a surprise to me because I almost never worked overtime. It didn't make sense why she would be there. I asked Marcus was he sure she was there on Saturdays, and he said he was definitely sure. He said he was pretty sure Alex might be banging her when she visited one Saturday. Since there's not a lot to do on a Saturday, they had a lot of free time, and Alex would have his Beats by Dre music speaker playing even though Leela was there hanging out. This was normal to Marcus, but after a while, he came back and said he heard loud Spanish music playing. Looking in, Marcus said things were getting sexual with Leela and the guys. He said Alex had Leela by her neck while she twerked for him. My wife wasn't exactly bootylicious, but she had enough that she could twerk if she wanted. I froze when Marcus told me this. I asked was he sure, and he said he was absolutely sure and that he's not blind. He said everybody watched as she bounced it for him, and he even lifted her shirt to show her butt in her leggings. I asked him did she try to stop Alex, and he said no. He said all she did was laugh and twerk for him while he had her by her neck. He said she looked like she was trying to win a contest. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from Marcus. He said he was sorry and I needed to keep my wife from him. He said that includes Mia as well. I said thanks for telling me all this and hung up. Not long after, I felt very humiliated by this. Driving back home, my head was racing like crazy. What was worse, Leela twerking for Alex had to have been 7 or 8 months ago. Who knows what's been going on ever since then? They probably took it to his place, and she did more than twerk there. I had to ask Leela what was going on and see if she'd be honest with me. Getting back home, my wife was on the phone with her mom. After small talk, I asked her if she met with Mia today, and she said yeah. I asked her if she saw Alex as well, and she said no. I told her I was actually surprised because they seemed like the Three Musketeers. She told me Alex really doesn't be around that much and it's just her and Mia, which even I know is total bull. After that, my wife just walked past me and into the kitchen for her phone and started texting, probably her friends. I couldn't believe my wife flat out lied to me about her relationship with Alex. Even I noticed how much he was around her, and I was hurt by what was looking obvious right now. After that, all I could do was watch her make dinner for our kids and feel sad about what was going on. I'm really depressed and my head got me in a combination of rage and tearing up right now. I need proof that something's going on, but it's going to be really hard since it involves people that work with me. I don't want to lose my job, and I can't use what Marcus said because it was just talking, and that's not good enough for divorce. Besides, they'll both just lie and say it didn't happen. Plus, my wife can say she was bringing Alex lunch or something, and the old lady that's the security guard would let her in. I have to assume my wife cheated on me. My wife had secretly met up with Alex and twerked for him, and that was 8 months ago. So much time had passed, and there's no telling what happened since then. I need to know how to get actual proof so I can use it in divorce if everything is true. I need to be careful because I don't want to lose my job, and I know her family will attack me if I don't get evidence. I'll update and figure out what to do. I want to thank everybody for letting me know how to find out about what's going on with my wife and my coworker, who I think she's cheating on me with. It helped me, especially since I couldn't go to family and friends because of the prospective shame, and it's growing worse. All the things I've been noticing, and it's clearly possible my coworker is banging my wife. To bring everyone up to speed on this, my wife Leela had to pick me up from work because my car needed new brakes. While waiting for me to get off work, Leela became friends with a girl that works in the front office named Mia and a coworker who worked in shipping named Alex. When I went off the floor, I had always noticed them listening to rap music and chatting. After becoming close friends with them, my wife would come to my job on her day off and hang with them around their lunch. However, a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from an old coworker that destroyed me. This guy used to work with us named Marcus and suggested Alex might have gotten to my wife. He stated he observed them conversing quietly and it appeared like they were flirting. He said this would happen 1 hour before Alex's lunch, and it was quite strange. What was worse is when he revealed that when he and Alex would work extra on Saturdays, Leela would come to visit them. He stated at first he wasn't going to say anything. Then one Saturday he witnessed something that compelled him to tell me. After Marcus was gone, he stated when he went to the shipping dock, he heard Spanish music playing. He said he looked in and saw my wife dancing and twerking for Alex. He claimed that at first they were just playing, but then they became sexual and aggressive. He claimed Leela allowed him to hold her by the neck and pull her shirt to view her butt. He claimed they were just having fun at first, but he could tell it was growing serious based on the way they looked at each other. At first, I made excuses for my wife and asked whether he was certain it was her. He shot it down by saying he was certain it was her. Leela is Cuban, has tattoos on her arms, and always wears a ponytail. After seeing that, Marcus departed to go home. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Not only is it unfortunate that my wife was chatting to Alex, but this occurred 8 or 9 months ago. So much time had passed, and who knew what she was up to now with Alex? I am grateful Marcus informed me of this, but I believe he may have been too late. I wish he'd been a man and told me at the time, but it appeared to be thanks to him. Alex clearly got to my wife, and he didn't want to rat on Alex. When I arrived home, I asked Leela about her friendship with Alex. She stated that she chats to Alex on occasion, but he is rarely present, and she normally only speaks with Mia. I knew it was BS since I occasionally saw them firsthand. Thank you, Marcus. I see how her game is played. She was using her friendship with Mia as a pretext to finally visit Alex. After speaking with Marcus and hearing Leela lie about her and Alex, I started snooping on my wife throughout the house. I can't get into her iPhone since she has a hard password and is always using it to chat with her mother and sister. Instead, I would listen in on her talks, particularly those she had late at night, which bothered me. She'd walk on the back porch and talk, and I'd go out our side door to hear who she was speaking with. After listening, I realized she was probably talking to Alex. I would hear her say, "Stop, you're crazy," or, "Yeah, we had a good time in a club in the suburbs near our house." I overheard her say, "I can't go over there." I'm sure they went over to his house, but I couldn't hear both sides. When she came in, I inquired who she was talking to, and she answered it was either her sister, Mia, or someone else. All of the chuckling and whispering told me it was complete BS. I must have been blind before Marcus phoned because all I saw after that were red flags. I've never seen her without her phone. She no longer speaks to me and claims to be very busy. When I told her I wanted to sleep with her, she laughed and said she didn't want to do it with our kids at home. When I wondered when it had ever stopped us, Leela replied just to leave her alone and that I was nuts. She said she wasn't in the mood. All of this before Marcus called and after makes my wife appear unfaithful. Why did I ever think that this was normal? Last Saturday, I believe I caused her to miss an opportunity to be with Alex, and she was furious. Leela contacted me as I drove home from work. She said she was going out again and that I needed to cook for the kids. I immediately suspected she was attempting to meet with Alex and lied, claiming I was going to conduct errands before returning home. She stated she was already getting ready to leave, so I told her sister to watch the kids, knowing she couldn't. After Leela tried to shame me into staying at home, I told her that I was free to go out and do stuff and might not be back till later. Leela said anything and then hung up on me. Later that night, she had an attitude toward me, and when I uttered just two things to her, she exploded on me. She claimed I destroyed her night, and I stated I didn't care. I informed her that my need to run errands was more essential than her plans. Leela stated they were just hanging around. I didn't say anything about running errands, and she hadn't mentioned going out. When I asked who she was hanging out with, she said forget it. After coming out of the shower, I noticed she was outside on the porch talking on her phone. She seemed annoyed. I am convinced she was talking about me. However, a few days ago, things took a turn for the worse. Leela made dinner for me when I finished work that night. She came into the bedroom where I was browsing some new Jordans on my phone and informed me that dinner was ready. When I entered the dining room, she was all dressed up and about to leave. I asked where she was heading, and she said she was going out with some friends and that I needed to monitor the kids. I asked Leela who she was going out with, and she said her buddies again. I told her she couldn't just up and leave, and she said I should stop trying to control her. She left with an attitude. I was furious because I knew what this was about. She was upset about not being able to see Alex on Saturday, and she was clearly heartbroken about it. Since then, my wife did not return until around 2:30 and I texted her all night, and all she said was, "Please stop texting me." I was angry. When she eventually came inside, I was playing on our son's PlayStation. When I noticed her, we began to argue. I questioned her why she arrived home so late. She just stated she was hanging out with her buddies, and I wasn't trying to listen. I told her I was supposed to be in bed, yet here I was waiting for her to come home. She stated I never complained when she arrived late in the past. I said I was always with her, so that ridiculous argument is ineffective. She cursed me out and said I was always trying to control her, which I dismissed as nonsense. After a while, our kid walked out to check what all the commotion was about and asked what was wrong. Leela then declared that she would no longer argue with me and went into the bedroom where she saw the video game on. My son requested if he could play, and I informed him that he could only do so for a short time before returning to sleep. After accepting, he began playing the game, and I wanted to continue arguing with Leela. I was not going to allow her to accuse me of being a domineering husband. She was the one arriving late. I constantly tried to remain calm, but my suspicions grew. Coming home was disrespectful, especially given how she had left following our dispute. I walked into our bedroom to continue arguing over when she departed. When I came into the bedroom, I was about to fight, but then I stopped mid-sentence because of what I saw. When I stepped into the room, my wife was undressing and appeared to be wearing a black string as underwear. My wife appeared shocked when I went in, implying that she expected me to still be with our son. My wife was just standing there. She was wearing a piece of string. When I noticed, I thought, "What now?" After briefly staring at me, she gave me a look that indicated if you ask, we'll just argue. After removing her pajamas off the bed, she went to the bathroom to change. I couldn't believe what I just saw, and I'm not lying. It stopped me in my tracks, and I was devastated. I opted to sleep on the couch because it would be weird. Afterwards, my brain was unable to operate after viewing that. I've never seen my wife wear thongs or underwear like that. It was basically just her bare bottom and a black piece of string. To be honest, Leela has some attractive panties, but she hasn't worn them in a long time. When we go on vacation, she prefers to wear seductive bikinis, but only on Instagram. Even so, the string she was wearing resembled something from World Star. At this point, I noted my wife was clearly being suspicious and secretive. When I first arrived here, everyone said I should videotape her doing or saying really incriminating things, so I'm already working on it. I ordered a voice-activated recorder device and intend to install it in her automobile. I asked a pal if I could use his address for delivery, and he answered yes without doubt. I'll pick it up once he receives it in the mail. The last thing I need is for her to notice the parcel and ask me what it is. I'm ready to blow this thing wide open no matter how much it costs. Marcus has confirmed many people's concerns. I will try to update, but I should be able to if I quit being combative and behave as normally as my emotions allow. Thank you to everyone who has helped me with what has been going on between me and my wife. I've received a lot of guidance in determining whether or not my wife has cheated on me, which has been quite useful. This has been a difficult time, and these conversations were necessary. It also helped me become more determined and intelligent in my pursuit of the truth. I greatly appreciate the help with this. However, the advice I've received here has been somewhat varied on how to deal with this. Some others advised I should utilize the evidence and proof against her. Others advised me to take the red flags and blow up the situation. I was trying to decide what to do with this, but my wife pushed my hand today. To bring some individuals up to speed, last year my wife Leela had to pick me up from work since my car broke down. As I was waiting to get off, Leela became friends with Mia, an office employee, and Alex, a co-worker. They would talk and listen to rap music while she waited for me to come out and leave. It got to the point where, after my car was fixed, she'd stop by during their lunch break when she didn't have to work with her sister. However, I recently received a call from an old friend who used to work with us, Marcus. Alex and Leela have been meeting in secret. He stated that they would be acting inappropriately toward each other. He said she would even pay him a visit on Saturdays when they worked overtime. Marcus stated that one day they were in the back playing music when he noticed her twerking for Alex. He said Alex lifted up my wife's shirt to see her buttocks and grabbed her by the neck. He might have had there thanks to my wife's tattoos, ponytail, and being Spanish. Marcus could easily identify her. He said she'd bring him lunch and they'd hang out and be practically BFFs because there was no real work on Saturday. Given that I never work overtime, I was surprised to learn that she had gone up there. After returning home, I asked Leela about her friendship with Alex, and she said she doesn't really have one. This made me angry because it was a complete lie, especially since everyone would see them together at lunch. Following this lie, I decided to snoop on my wife to see what I would discover. I know Leela and Mia are friends, but Alex was always present. After snooping, I noticed numerous red flags. She'd spend the entire night pretending she was with friends. She would go on the back porch and talk on the phone, then leave the house without saying where she was going. The worst part was when someone eavesdropped on her phone conversation. Leela would giggle and say things like, "You're crazy," or "I can't come over tonight." When I asked who she was talking to, she would say either her sister or Mia. Being at work felt awkward too because I had no idea how nice everyone was to me until now. Thanks to Marcus for calling and informing me about this. The information was like a master key for me, as they had no idea I was told about it. My only genuine regret is that the information was 8 months old, and so much time had passed since then. I was so preoccupied with going to work and raising my children that I failed to notice what was going on. Marcus showed me that I was wearing rose-tinted glasses at the time. Leela used her friendship with Mia as an excuse to see Alex. My wife has changed significantly over the past 8 months. She was very secretive, only conversing with her friends and speaking to me when absolutely necessary. She would get dressed up more often, and when she was getting undressed after a morning conversation, I noticed she was wearing a black string as underwear. Seeing her wear this worries me because she never wears that type of underwear. When we were on vacation, she would wear sexy bikinis, but she usually posted them on Instagram to show off. Everyone understands that string underwear is something you show off to others rather than wear. When I saw this, I stopped dead in my tracks and walked out of the room rather than argue about it. Thank you, Marcus. My world is spinning out of control right now, and the red flags are obviously indicating that before Marcus said anything. I always tried not to feel jealous. Leela is quite attractive, and she often receives comments. She enjoys sharing images on Instagram and receives a lot of attention there. Many of the comments on her images were disrespectful, and she received likes despite the fact that the photo was taken a year before. It's difficult for a jealous person to be with a woman who has thousands of men on her page. I was always aware of this and tried to be understanding, but it was a very real scenario, and I may have leaned too much on it because we were married. I had a feeling this base will alter, and now it's time to prove it. After purchasing a voice-activated recording device, I planned to obtain proof, and if it was true, I intended to divorce her. After purchasing a tape recorder, I rode with her to the grocery to see if I could convince her to treat me better. If there was a problem with our relationship, I thought maybe we could fix things and she'd leave Alex alone. I informed Leela that her going out with friends is okay, but as a parent, she still had a responsibility to her family. Leela said she was a grown lady and I was being domineering to her. She argued she had the right to go out with her friends and not stay in the house or work all the time. I informed her that I knew she enjoys having fun, but it was becoming too spontaneous and she wouldn't notify me when or where she was going. Leela accepted and promised to be attentive of me and her family. She became more aware of my emotions after that, and I felt as if we could speak for them about ourselves. However, it ended with a phone call from Alex a few days ago. I suppose I wasn't sure how to handle this at first, but she forced my hand earlier this week. Leela mentioned that all of my kids wanted to see a Pixar movie with their big cousins this Saturday. She said she would take them so they could all watch the movie together. This pleased me since it allowed her to spend more time with the children. After they had departed, a few hours later, my nephew called me. He stated he'd heard we had a video game he wanted to play. I asked if he could come over after the movie. I told him that if Leela brought him back home, he could come over and play the game. He was excited and said that when Leela came to pick him up after the movie, he would question her about it. He absolutely baffled me. I told him I thought Leela was going to see the movie with them, but he said Leela had told them she was only going to drop them off. I slept late a little this morning, so I assumed I was just hearing him incorrectly. Leela claimed she was watching the movie with the kids, which I knew was a lie. It was then that I realized it was a Saturday, and Marcus had mentioned that Leela would be with Alex during overtime. Given the time, the guys would undoubtedly still be there if they had to work this Saturday. Calling my wife, I was pretty ticked off when she didn't answer the phone. After that, I called my job to request a security extension. I asked the lady if the gentleman was still working. She responded yes, and I hung up wondering what she was doing with Alex. After that, I got in my car and chose to go to my job, knowing I'd make it there before they left. Driving there, I just said, "Foolish me for what she was putting me through." I had no idea what to think, but I was already in a rage. We had this conversation, and I believe she understood I was onto her this time, and I wasn't going to let it go, especially because she lied to me. I don't care if Alex is banging my wife. I pulled into the parking lot and looked for her car. I spotted it right away, and I was already enraged. I came in and went down to the cargo port where Alex works. When I walked through the double doors, Alex looked startled to see me. They had their jackets on and appeared to be getting ready to depart until they noticed me gazing around. I didn't see Alex or Leela on my way back, so I assumed they were in the truckers' lounge area. One of the crew members attempted to stop me and told me I didn't belong in the building. I told him to get out of my face. I was going to be firm, and I wasn't going to play around with him. He tried to play the tough guy with me, but he wouldn't give in, so I knew he did not want to fight. I'm not going to waste any more time with him. I went to the truckers' lounge where they were supposed to be. Truckers used to wait in a limited space for their trucks to be loaded. A few years ago, they enacted a new rule requiring all truck drivers to remain in their vehicles until they received their documentation. This was designed to deter theft, but I had no idea who would want to steal what they were shipping. The space was modest with only 2 vending machines that didn't work anymore. I knew I'd find them in there, and Alex's groaning confirmed that. Staying near the wall, I looked inside and couldn't believe what I saw. Alex was banging my wife. I couldn't believe what I saw. It was terrible enough that I saw Alex sitting on a couch, shirt open, pants and underwear down, but he kept my wife's face in his crotch. He looked like a dark ruler amid the mountains. He grabbed a rural woman and forced her to slowly work him. He looked down at my wife, who was on her knees sucking obediently, and I reached into my pocket. I took out my phone. I suspected I'd need it, so I took it out and began recording. Leela was clearly too preoccupied to notice, while Alex was simply watching her. I captured at least 7 solid seconds of them doing this. After gathering some proof, I jumped out at them, yelling, and Alex looked astonished to see me, while Leela gave me a very irritated look. While looking up at me, she inquired about what I was doing there. Extremely agitated, I just screamed at her. "For you, this is the way you treat me." She asked if I could please leave. Mind you, she's still holding him in her hand. I said, "After both of them?" She was just holding her hands over her face, saying, "Oh my God." It surprised me that she didn't appear embarrassed about being caught. She appeared more uncomfortable about my behavior in front of Alex. After that, I called her everything under the sun, and all she did was roll her eyes and beg me to just leave them alone. She appeared to just want me gone, and it didn't matter to her that our marriage had ended. It seems that she was simply saying, "Oh well," and that irritated me even more. After calling her endless names, all she would respond with was, "Please leave," and "I don't mind." I yelled, "How could she do that to me after claiming to love me?" And she yelled back, "I don't love you like that, okay?" Hearing that almost felled me. She instructed me to leave again. I informed her I wanted a divorce. She said, "All right," with a dissatisfied tone. After that, I simply left the warehouse, got in my car, and drove home. After I got home, I was outraged. I hit the walls and cursed loudly. I could not believe she would do this to me. She was obviously someone I did not know anymore. I was done with this BS she was giving me. As of now, she has yet to return, and I have no idea where she is. I imagine she's with her sister and has to inform her about the issue. Whatever happens next, I have really clear evidence that she cheated. I want to use it extensively in various contexts, particularly during the divorce process. It clearly demonstrates her lack of responsibility and concern for her own marriage. It's unfortunate to say, but I probably shouldn't have needed Marcus to inform me of this because the warning flags were obvious. She only loved the things I did for her, which is why we married. Leela did not want love. She just enjoyed being desired. Alex was attracted to her and desired her, so he banged her. A relationship like this is certain to fail because women like her always return to their true selves. I just purchased a voice-activated recorder that I only used once. It seemed that all I needed was a guy who no longer worked for us. Hello, everybody. I'd want to thank everyone for their kind remarks and support. I can't explain how you helped me realize what my wife was doing to me and how to handle it. So many people have asked for an update to see how I was doing, and right now it's the worst since I'm feeling betrayed and angry. People here seem to think I was frightened to confront my wife, which is not the case. When I discovered that my wife had cheated on me, I decided to consult with a lawyer and file for divorce. This is my final post about it because everything is now going to be preoccupied with legal cases. I was spending time with my family and 3 children, as well as dealing with my wife, and I had a major falling out which I knew was coming. To summarize the scenario, my wife Leela had to pick me up from work approximately a year ago because my car required repairs, and she came to my job to pick me up for the week. She made pals with Mia, an office worker, and Alex, a shipping dock employee. At first, I didn't mind, and they spoke throughout breaks. Then they began hanging together outside of work. I assumed Leela exclusively hung out with Mia, but I was mistaken. I received a call from an old co-worker named Marcus. Leela hung out with Alex more than Mia. He not only hung out with my wife, but he also informed other people on the shipping dock that he wanted to hit on Leela. He stated he'd see them, and it appeared he was always flirting with her. Marcus said he became skeptical. Marcus claimed they started spending too much time together, and one day, while working extra, he saw her twerking for Alex. I honestly couldn't believe what he was saying. I inquired if he was certain it was her, and because Leela was Cuban, had tattoos, and always wore a ponytail, he had described her precisely. After this, I did some sleuthing and noticed all the red flags, such as her hanging out with me, her constant use of her phone, and her decision not to accept me as her spouse, validating Marcus's point. People here predicted that my wife would slip and simply wait, and they were correct. It was as if Marcus had given me the clear route, and all I had to do was wait for it to clear. This happened when Leela stated she was going to see a Pixar movie with her kids and their big cousins on Saturday. This turned out to be some BS. She or my nephew, who was at the movies, stated that she would come and pick them up after the movie. I was astonished because I knew she'd mentioned she was going to see the movie. After hanging up with him, it didn't take long for me to figure out where she went. Marcus stated Leela would come to visit Alex at work while they were working overtime. Marcus stated that she would be twerking for Alex and spending the remainder of the shift with him. After getting up and driving all the way to work, I made my way into the building. Her car was there, so I knew she was with Alex. When I headed to the small truckers' lounge, I knew I'd find them there, and when I stopped to look inside, Leela was on all fours with Alex and her lips on him. Leela worked with Alex about 8 months ago. Now he was putting my wife's head in his crotch. Snatching my phone, I extended the camera lens far enough to record them and captured around 7 seconds of this evidence of truth. After that, I confronted them both in wrath. I had never put on anyone before. I exploded in a rage like never before. I yelled at them. "What the hell is going on here? How could you do this to me?" Alex looked shocked and tried to cover himself up, while Leela just stared at me with a mixture of annoyance and guilt. I couldn't believe the betrayal I was witnessing. I continued to shout, "I trusted you, I loved you, and this is how you repay me." Leela stood up, pulling her clothes back into place, and said, "It's not what it looks like." Her words felt like a slap in the face. "Not what it looks like? Are you kidding me?" I recorded the whole thing. Alex, still trying to get dressed, mumbled, "Man, let's just talk about this. There's no need to make it worse." I turned my fury toward him. "Talk about what? How you've been screwing my wife behind my back. There's nothing to talk about." My voice echoed off the walls, filled with anger and betrayal. Leela, now fully clothed but visibly shaken, said, "Please, can we just leave and talk about this at home?" "Leave? This is my life you're messing with. My family. How could you be so heartless? My voice broke, tears welling up in my eyes. I couldn't bear to be in their presence any longer. I stormed out of the lounge, got into my car, and drove home, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. The betrayal was too much to bear, and I knew I needed to take immediate steps to protect myself and my children. Once home, I called my lawyer and explained everything. He assured me we had a solid case for divorce given the evidence. I then called my brother Ricky, who came over immediately with new locks for the house to ensure Leela couldn't just walk in whenever she pleased. That night was one of the hardest of my life. I tried to explain to my children, in the simplest terms possible, that their mother and I would no longer be living together. Their confusion and sadness broke my heart even more. They didn't deserve this. The next day, I went to work and filed a formal complaint against Alex. My supervisor was supportive and assured me that appropriate action would be taken. Alex was fired, and it was a small consolation in the face of everything I had lost. Leela attempted to reach out several times, both directly and through her sister Christina, but I maintained firm boundaries. I insisted that all communication be handled through our lawyers to keep things as professional and detached as possible. She tried to argue that she deserved more time with the kids, but the court's decision was clear, and I intended to honor it. I wanted to shield my children from further instability. Eventually, Leela seemed to accept the new reality. She moved out of the area, perhaps realizing that she needed a fresh start as well. Her visits became less frequent, and while it was hard for the children, it was ultimately for the best. They needed consistency, and I was determined to provide that. Work became a refuge for me. I poured myself into my job, using it as a way to distract from the personal pain. My colleagues, aware of my situation, were supportive and understanding. The sense of accomplishment I found in my work helped rebuild my confidence and sense of self-worth. Months turned into years, and gradually, the wounds began to heal. I even started dating again, though it was a slow process. Trusting someone new after such a deep betrayal was challenging, but I knew it was possible. I met a woman named Emily through a mutual friend. She was kind, patient, and understanding of my past. She had her own experiences with heartache, which gave her a unique empathy for what I had gone through. Emily and I took things slow, prioritizing the kids and ensuring they were comfortable with the relationship. Over time, she became a wonderful addition to our lives. The children grew to love her, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. Looking back, the journey was incredibly tough. There were moments when I felt completely lost, overwhelmed by the weight of betrayal and the responsibility of single parenthood. But those same challenges forged a stronger bond between me and my children, teaching us resilience and the true meaning of family. The experience also taught me invaluable lessons about love, trust, and self-worth. I learned to value myself more, to recognize my own worth beyond someone else's validation. I also realized the importance of honesty and communication in any relationship. Secrets and lies only lead to pain and destruction. As for Leela, I hope she found what she was looking for and that she learned from her mistakes. Our paths may have diverged, but I chose to focus on my own healing and happiness rather than harboring resentment. Forgiveness, I discovered, was more about freeing myself from the past than absolving her actions. In the end, we all moved forward in our own ways. The scars remained, but they became a part of our story, a reminder of what we endured and overcame. My children thrived, knowing they were loved and supported by a network of family and friends. And I found peace, knowing I had done everything I could to protect and provide for them. Life, with all its ups and downs, continued, and we embraced it, stronger and more united than ever. Well, folks, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed making it. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment below with your thoughts and tell me your stories. I'd love to hear them. Cheers, and see you in the next one.